Stop. Don't scroll. There is a record that has just been made in heaven about what you endured in silence this week, and I was sent to deliver the exact answer to you. The weight you have been carrying is not a coincidence, and the exhaustion that hit you today is not just physical. This is a spiritual interception, and you're about to understand why. You know exactly what it feels like to stare at the bedroom ceiling at 2 in the morning, asking God what is fundamentally wrong with you. Your spirit feels completely suffocated and drained by the heavy silence that follows when someone deliberately misunderstands your pure intentions. You carry a frequency that isolates you, marking you as a target in environments where you are forced to fake a smile just to avoid making others uncomfortable. It is the painful reality of trying to share a genuine joy or a vision that God placed in your heart, only to be met with an awkward, heavy silence and a mocking exchange of glances between people you deeply loved. You choose silence because explaining yourself costs too much energy, and you end up swallowing your own enthusiasm. It is the foreign tongue spoken in a familiar land, a heavy crown worn in an empty room where no one speaks your language. And then there is the crowded family table, where you smile politely but feel completely invisible, disconnected, and fundamentally out of place. You are carrying a spiritual weight that your own family cannot see, understand, or help you lift. It is a chronic sense of spiritual isolation, a creeping social suffocation where you sit among many but belong to none, carrying an invisible mark that makes your mere existence irritate those around you. Today you will finally understand the invisible envy that operates behind this lifelong isolation. You will see that you are like a heavenly receiver, a radio intricately built to pick up only heavenly frequencies. When you emit static while others play loud music, they say you are defective. But you're not broken. You are tuned to a majestic tower no one else can hear. The envious one hears your frequency and tries to smash you out of pure spite. I am not just going to explain this to you. I am going to give you an actionable tool of spiritual coverage, a defense that you can execute today to shield this distinct frequency from the continuous attacks of the envious one. We will establish a perimeter of protection around your calling, ensuring that the spirit of envy can no longer drain your energy, twist your pure intentions, or use your deep sense of inadequacy against you. At the end of this message, we will seal this understanding with a powerful spiritual declaration that will shift the atmosphere of your life. I'm going to walk you through this process step by step. If you feel the weight of this, please stay until the end. Do not break the line before the seal is complete. There is a reason this message found you today, and the deliverance you seek is in the final word. Have you ever felt that this lifelong isolation, this constant feeling that you just don't fit in no matter where you go, is not just human, but spiritual? And if this lifelong feeling of being different is actually a sign that there is a battle against the purpose God has placed upon your life? While many try to explain this away as social anxiety or just a quirky personality, few realize that the envious one doesn't target you just for what you have, but for what God is building upon you. But what if the true reason for this deep sense of not belonging is found exactly in what you haven't been able to see about your own life? Now think with me. What if everything you went through until today, sitting at the crowded table feeling completely invisible, the heavy silence of crying alone at 2 in the morning, and the cold looks when you shared a genuine joy, is the answer to that question you have carried in silence for years? Why do I always feel so radically different from everyone else? It was while seeking answers to this that I found this digital book called The 7 Spiritual Reasons Why the Chosen Ones Face So Much Envy. This book is not just reading. It is a key of spiritual understanding, a tool made for those who want to see beyond appearances, to stop absorbing the rejection of others as if it were your fault, and understand why the spiritual realm wages war against those who carry a mark of God. Several chosen ones here on this channel have already felt the call of the spiritual shield, but haven't yet made the decision to download the digital book. Download it right now. It is available in the first pinned comment. But beware, this content may not be available for long. It reveals spiritual reasons that many people prefer to ignore because they expose what exists behind the sudden betrayals, the unexplained exclusions, and the heavy exhaustion after socializing. Don't wait for another cycle of deep loneliness to seek what you already feel you need to understand. Click now, download your copy and find out why the spirit of envy could not stop what God started in you. If you are one of the first to download, come back here and write, Amen. This will be your act of faith, and today God can show you the reason why this creeping social suffocation operates against your life. There is a shadow prepared for those who are targeted for their divine frequency. It is the secret place of the Most High, a spiritual covering that operates like a heavy cloak over your vulnerabilities. When the envious one tries to locate you through your feeling of inadequacy, this shadow hides your coordinates. It is an ancient architecture of protection, built precisely to shield the set apart from the arrows that fly by day and the silent judgments that suffocate by night. If this spiritual reality is resonating with the battles you face, I want you to subscribe to the channel right now and leave your like on this video. This is not about numbers. It is about aligning yourself with a frequency of truth that validates your journey. By doing this, you are declaring to the spiritual realm that you are no longer accepting the lie that you are broken, and you are stepping into the sanctuary of the chosen. And about exactly this, about the crowded table where you smile politely, but feel completely invisible and disconnected. About the heavy silence in your bedroom at 2 in the morning, asking God what is wrong with you. And about the cold, judging look you received when expressing pure enthusiasm. There is a 3-minute seal that fits exactly inside the next time you're sitting in a room full of people and the crushing weight of isolation hits your chest, making you want to run away, and I will show it to you later on. Tuck it away in the back of your mind. And beyond our digital guide, Chosen One, you have here another way to strengthen this message that arrived at your house today, and to make it reach more and more chosen ones like you. We don't receive a single cent for each word I deliver to you every day on this channel. As a way for you to give back something of what you receive here, we also keep a voluntary donation link open, right below the digital book, in the first pinned comment. Any amount that fits in your hand today, any sum your heart points to, this is what keeps our channel standing. This is what makes the next message reach another person who needs it, exactly the way you need it today. I'll see you there, Chosen One. And if you need to leave before the end of this video, this shield is already waiting for you in the first pinned comment, right down below. But I ask you to stay until the end, because without the context that is coming now, the seal does not work with the same strength upon your separated calling. The true deliverance requires you to understand the depth of the mark you carry. I still haven't told you the most important thing. There is a specific mechanism that the envious one uses to twist your purest intentions, a silent strategy designed to keep you locked in a cycle of self-blame and social exhaustion. When you finally see how this works, everything you have suffered will make absolute sense. Close your eyes for a second, or at least look away from the screen. Silence the noise around you and pay close attention to the frequency of these words. I am not here to offer you a generic motivational speech or a psychological analysis of your personality. I am here to map out the exact spiritual coordinates of your life right now, exposing the invisible mechanics behind your lifelong feeling of not belonging. I will describe 5 things to you, 5 specific, undeniable realities that you have lived through, mostly in silence. Listen carefully to each one of them. If I am right about at least 3 of them, you and I will know exactly why you ended up here today. First, think about those specific social environments where you are forced to be present, like a crowded table or a casual gathering. You sit there, you smile politely, and you engage in the necessary small talk, but internally you feel completely invisible and radically disconnected from everyone else. It is not shyness. It is a creeping social suffocation. You feel an exhausting drain on your energy, a heavy exhaustion after socializing that forces you to retreat to your room just to breathe. This is not a social deficit. It is your spirit reacting to an environment that operates on a completely different frequency. Second, remember the times you stared at the bedroom ceiling at 2 in the morning, feeling the crushing weight of isolation pressing against your chest. The house is completely quiet, but your mind is racing, replaying interactions and asking God what is fundamentally wrong with you. You wonder why everything feels so heavy for you, while it seems so effortless for others. That late-night interrogation is not insomnia or anxiety. It is the spiritual weight of a heavy crown worn in an empty room, a divine calling that isolates you precisely because it is too large for ordinary spaces. Third, go back to the exact moment you tried to share a genuine joy, a deep revelation, or a vision that God placed in your heart with your own family or people you deeply loved. You expected support, but instead, you were met with a painful, awkward silence and a cold, judging look, followed by a mocking exchange of glances. You swallowed your enthusiasm and chose silence because explaining yourself costs too much energy. That rejection from those closest to you is not a failure in communication. It is the envious one using familiar faces to smash your heavenly receiver. And about the exact moment you tried to share a genuine joy and were met with a painful, awkward silence that you recognized just now, know that there is an exact spiritual shield that covers this specific vulnerability. It is already waiting for you in the first pinned comment. Fourth, consider the constant necessity of forgiving people who deliberately and intentionally misunderstand your purest intentions. You do something out of a genuine, clean heart, and somehow it gets twisted, manipulated, and thrown back at you as if you had an ulterior motive. You find yourself constantly having to defend your character against baseless assumptions, enduring a heavy, suffocating silence when your truth is rejected. This constant twisting of your actions is not a misunderstanding. It is a targeted spiritual interception designed to make you doubt your own goodness and silence your distinct frequency. Fifth, feel that deep, chronic sense of spiritual inadequacy that has followed you since childhood, that underlying feeling that you are a foreign tongue spoken in a familiar land. No matter how much you try to adapt, no matter how much you shrink yourself to fit into the boxes others create for you, you always end up feeling like an outsider, carrying a spiritual mark that your own family cannot see, understand, or help you lift. This is not a psychological flaw. It is the mark of the set apart, a divine separation that makes you glow like a target in the spiritual realm. Now take a second. How many of these 5 hit home? 3, 4, 5. If at least 3 resonated with your reality, you already know that this message is for you. You know that you didn't stumble upon this video by accident, and the resonance you feel in your spirit right now is the confirmation you have been asking God for in those silent late-night hours. We are going to move forward, and I will show you how to navigate this reality without being drained by it. We are going to establish that secret place of the Most High, a spiritual covering that operates like a heavy cloak over your vulnerabilities, hiding your coordinates from the envious one and protecting the majestic tower you are tuned to. But before we decode the profound mechanism of this separation, I want you to make a physical movement of alignment. Subscribe to the channel right now and leave your like on this video. This goes far beyond clicking a button. It is a visible declaration that you are stepping out of the shadows of inadequacy and recognizing the divine nature of your difference. By doing this, you are locking arms with a community of the set apart who also carry this heavy, invisible coat of colors. Before I show you the instrument of coverage that will shield this distinct frequency from the continuous attacks of the envious one, I need to give you the name of what you carry. Because the shield only makes sense after you know the name of the target. And there is a word in Hebrew that defines exactly this chronic sense of spiritual isolation and inadequacy. A word that recontextualizes everything I just described to you over the last few minutes. There is a classification in heavenly records that describes exactly what you are. The 5 signs you just heard are not a coincidence, but an exact map of what is happening in the unseen realm, especially the heavy silence you face when you retreat to your room to breathe. This is not the time to look for more explanations. It is the time to apply a specific spiritual defense. The seal of this hour you are going through has been seen, and I need you to listen to me very carefully now. Because between being chosen and being covered, there is a gap. A gap that the envious one knows better than you do. The attacks didn't increase because you did something wrong, not because the anointing was revoked. Because the next time you sit in a crowded room and the crushing weight of isolation hits your chest has arrived. And the spiritual isolation you carry without a shield is exposing your distinct frequency as a target. And I'm telling you this because I've seen it happen. I've seen it with set-apart individuals who were exactly sitting at a crowded table but feeling completely invisible and disconnected. I've seen the heavy silence of the bedroom at 2 in the morning turn into the very place where your heavenly frequency is protected. I've seen the painful reality of faking a smile turn into undeniable reverence for the mark you carry. I've seen the cold, judging look from someone close turn into a quiet retreat of the enemy. And not because they suddenly learned how to socialize or change their personalities, because the envious one entered the spiritual isolation and chronic inadequacy without anyone noticing. When I use this word, envious one, I'm not using a metaphor. I'm naming what isolates you, what separates you from those who should love you, and what targets your pure intentions to twist them into heavy silence. And you already know this, you just hadn't given it a name yet. Faking a smile in environments where your spirit feels completely suffocated and drained. Forgiving people who constantly and intentionally misunderstand your purest intentions. Carrying a spiritual weight that your own family cannot see, understand, or help you lift. Before I name the shield against this creeping social suffocation, take your thumb to the first pinned comment, right down below. It's just a movement of attention. Look at the title of the digital book that is there, so your mind registers the tool we are going to use and come right back here. It was exactly seeking this answer that I arrived at this digital book called The 7 Spiritual Reasons Why the Chosen Ones Face So Much Envy. It doesn't just deliver theory, it delivers the exact protocol to shield your distinct frequency from those who want to twist your pure intentions. What you are about to access is a spiritual architecture of protection. It was designed to end the chronic inadequacy that drains you, to ensure the envious one no longer survives by feeding off your fundamental difference, and to finally shift the blame from your personality to the spiritual realm. And the spiritual realm respects this positioning, because every time you sit at the crowded table feeling invisible, every time you face the heavy silence in your bedroom, and every time you endure the cold look of someone rejecting your genuine joy, your energy is being stolen. Do not wait for the next time you sit in a crowded room and the crushing weight of isolation hits your chest to seek what you already feel you need to understand. It is in the first pinned comment, right down below. Tap the link now, secure your copy, and discover why your fundamental difference as a set apart has no legal authority to stop what God decreed over you. And if you are among the first to download, return here and leave it registered in the comments, Amen. This will be the declared sign of faith that the heavenly receiver is finally protected. Before the next time you are forced to endure that painful, awkward silence, there is a reason the spiritual realm fears this positioning, because when you execute this, you activate what the scriptures established. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. This is not a figure of speech. This shadow is the specific frequency shield that hides your distinct marking from those who try to smash your heavenly radio. The set apart, without learning this architecture, remains an open target for constant emotional bleeding. The digital book that is in the first pinned comment was built upon this architecture. It is exactly what you need to survive this spiritual isolation and chronic inadequacy without letting the envious one suffocate your spirit. And I need to be very pragmatic with you now. Less than a quick lunch alone at the diner because you didn't fit in with the group. Less than the price of a Friday night delivery eaten in the silence of your room. Less than a weekend coffee bought while walking alone with your heavy thoughts. You never questioned these small expenses because they were choices made to numb this creeping social suffocation. And here, facing something that can change how your spiritual frequency is protected for the next 12 months, you will think twice, not because it is worth less, but because there is a resistance that doesn't want you to find the exact coordinates of your protection. This hesitation has a name. It is the same spiritual isolation that tries to convince you that you are fundamentally flawed, now dressed up as financial reasonableness. Don't let this resistance win today, and it has a 7-day guarantee. If you open it, read it, and it doesn't fit, send an email and receive your money back in full. No questions, no process, no judgment. I make a point of doing this, especially when what is at stake is the covering of your set-apart frequency against the next time you sit in a crowded room. The risk is zero, but the cost of ignoring this is enormous. Do this before the next time the crushing weight of isolation hits your chest. Mark, 62 years old, an experienced professional surrounded by colleagues. He wrote to me on a Thursday night, exhausted from smiling politely at crowded tables, while feeling completely invisible, wondering if his isolation was a psychological flaw. He read the book between Thursday and Friday at his desk before anyone arrived, and sent me a message saying that for the first time he understood the spiritual mechanism of his inadequacy and finally stopped apologizing for not fitting in. Sarah, 54, a dedicated mother who always gave her best. She reached out on a Tuesday afternoon after staring at the bedroom ceiling at 2 a.m, asking God what was wrong with her, because no one understood her pure intentions. She downloaded the digital book on her phone while sitting alone on the porch, and reported that the heavy silence she used to carry was completely lifted once she recognized she wasn't broken, just tuned to a heavenly frequency. David, 49, a quiet leader who often kept his visions to himself. He contacted us on a Sunday morning after experiencing that cold, judging look from someone close when he tried to share a genuine joy. He accessed the material on his tablet right after that painful social exchange and testified that the invisible coat of colors he carries is now shielded, preventing the envious one from draining his energy ever again. Several chosen ones here on the channel already understood this. Perhaps in 3 hours, you will feel the crushing weight of isolation again. Each time you sit in a crowded room without this understanding is a direct target on your heavenly receiver. Each painful silence without knowing the name of what is Nazar is a silent advance of the enemy. Each night staring at the ceiling without this shield is a creeping social suffocation taking root. And your family doesn't notice it either. And your children don't notice it either. And this creeping social suffocation keeps arriving, with the same smile, sitting in the same chair, leaving through the same door. And before I give you the next word that is still coming right now, because it is still coming, and it is heavy, I need to make a quick request here. I deliver this message to you every day without charging absolutely anything for the word. If what I deliver here has fed your spirit, if it has been a strong tower in your days, help keep this channel standing. Right below the digital book in the pinned comment, there is a link for voluntary donations. It doesn't matter the amount. What matters is the direction of your heart. It is what allows me to continue bringing this daily food to you. I'll be waiting for you there once again, chosen one. But do not leave now. The ceiling is not finished yet. There is an ancient architecture we need to access. It is the exact name of what is happening to you right now. A word that came from ancient Hebrew and crossed 3,000 years to find you the next time you sit in a crowded room. And when you understand the weight of this word, the veil will be completely torn. Stay. The word is Nazar. Listen carefully to the sound of it. N-A-Z-A-R. This ancient term is the original root of the word Nazirite, and it holds the exact spiritual coordinates of your lifelong feeling of not belonging. When you finally grasp the true weight of this revelation, the veil that has blinded you will be completely torn, and the painful isolation you have carried since childhood will make absolute, undeniable sense. Most people look at this word and try to translate it through a purely physical, human lens. They think Nazar simply means being socially awkward, suffering from chronic inadequacy, or being a misfit who cannot adapt to normal environments. They look at your forced smiles at crowded tables, and they immediately diagnose you with a social deficit or anxiety. But they are reading a heavy spiritual reality with fragile human eyes, trying to explain a divine marking using earthly psychology. The true spiritual translation of Nazar is entirely different. In the heavenly records, Nazar means to be fiercely dedicated, consecrated and separated for God's exclusive use. It means that your fundamental difference is not a psychological flaw. It is a sacred boundary. To the world, you look like someone who just doesn't fit in anywhere. But to the spiritual realm, you glow like a massive target. Your painful isolation is the physical manifestation of a spiritual extraction. God pulled you apart before he could use you. This is exactly why your mere existence irritates those around you. When you carry the mark of Nazar, your frequency is set apart. The envious one senses this separation and uses it against you. sending people to intentionally misunderstand your purest intentions. That creeping social suffocation you feel is the friction between your consecrated spirit and environments that operate on a compromised frequency. You are not broken, you are marked. And this mark is what attracts the silent war you have been fighting. Think of your spirit as a heavenly receiver. Imagine a beautifully crafted radio that was intricately built by a master engineer to pick up only majestic, heavenly frequencies. When you place this intricate radio in a room full of regular receivers playing the local pop station, it immediately seems broken. When the others play loud, ordinary music, this unique radio emits what sounds like static. People look at it, judge it, and quickly conclude that it is defective. They wonder why it can't just play the same easy tune as everyone else. But the radio is not broken at all. It is simply tuned to a high, majestic tower that no one else in the room has the capacity to hear. It operates on a frequency that the ordinary receivers cannot even comprehend. The envious one operates exactly like someone who hates that distinct frequency. He hears your heavenly tune and tries to smash the radio out of pure spite. He orchestrates the heavy silence and the cold looks, convincing you that you are the one who is deeply flawed. He uses your isolation to make you doubt your own design, trying to destroy the receiver before it can fully broadcast the voice of the tower. This exact dynamic was mapped out thousands of years ago through the life of Joseph of Egypt. Joseph was the most envied and the most elevated man in the Old Testament. And this is not just a title in a history book. It is a biblical record signed by God himself. Joseph didn't ask for the coat of many colors, and he didn't ask for the prophetic dreams. He simply existed in his divine calling, and his mere existence irritated his brothers. His difference was not an attitude he forced. It was a spiritual marking he couldn't hide. Even as a young man, Joseph carried the undeniable mark of Nazar. He received prophetic dreams that radically separated him from his family. His brothers envied him in silence because they couldn't understand his heavenly receiver. Because he didn't fit in, he was betrayed by those who should have protected him, thrown into a dark pit, and sold into Egypt as mere merchandise. His fundamental difference attracted the deepest rejection, mirroring your painful reality of sharing a genuine vision and being met with mockery. In Egypt, the spirit of envy continued to track his unique frequency. Joseph was falsely accused and thrown into a dungeon, enduring years of heavy isolation for a crime he didn't commit. But even in the suffocating silence of that prison, his spirit remained fiercely dedicated. His true intentions were twisted, much like yours are constantly misunderstood today. But the covering of the Most High never left him. The envious one tried to use isolation to crush him, but God used that isolation to forge a ruler. It was exactly his distinct frequency that eventually pierced the walls of the palace. When Pharaoh had dreams that no ordinary receiver could understand, it was Joseph's heavenly tuning that provided the exact answer. He offered applied, practical wisdom, securing survival for 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. The very mark that made him a target for betrayal became the key that elevated him to second in command over the greatest empire on earth. His separation was the absolute prerequisite for his elevation. When the severe famine struck, those who had mocked his dreams and rejected his pure intentions were forced to bow before the wisdom he carried. Jesus himself cited Joseph as a type of the rejected messianic figure who eventually saves his own people. Joseph saved the very brothers who tried to destroy him, proving that the set-apart is often called to preserve the lives of those who once caused their deepest pain, heavy silence, and social exhaustion. And he did not take this practical wisdom to the grave. He left it registered with a surgical precision that has crossed 3,800 years without losing its sharp edge. The man who was sold out of envy left the map for those who are envied today. And this map is exactly what you are about to receive in the form of an instrument. It is the exact architecture to shield your calling from the attacks of those who deeply resent your light. This map is the secret place of the Most High, a spiritual covering that operates like a heavy cloak over your vulnerabilities. When the spirit of envy tries to locate your frequency to drain your energy, this shadow completely hides your coordinates. It shields your pure intentions from being twisted, and protects your mind when the crushing weight of isolation hits your chest. You are no longer navigating this alone. You are standing firmly on the shoulders of the set apart who survived this war before you. But knowing the name of your mark and the history of your spiritual lineage is only the beginning of your true deliverance. The spiritual realm requires an active positioning to activate this ancient shield over your daily life. There is a specific decree you must understand before you can walk free from this creeping social suffocation. Pay close attention to what comes next. The deepest truth is yet to come, and it has your name on it. Let me stop for a full minute and put everything you just heard into simple words. No poetry, no metaphor, just the facts. The lifelong feeling of not fitting in is not a social deficit. It is a spiritual frequency. Your pure intentions are deliberately misunderstood because the unseen realm actively wants to exhaust you and drain your energy. The crushing isolation you feel in crowded rooms is a targeted interception designed to make you doubt your own goodness. You are not fundamentally broken, and your social exhaustion is not a psychological failure. You are simply marked by a divine separation you never asked for, attracting the envious one through your mere existence. And here is who you are inside all of this. You are a consecrated vessel forced to operate in compromised, ordinary environments. You carry a heavy, invisible weight that others cannot comprehend, and the spiritual friction of this profound reality causes that creeping social suffocation you feel every single day. Your exhaustion is the absolute proof of your divine marking. Now, what comes next is the exact architecture to protect that specific marking. It is time to stop absorbing the rejection of others as if it were your fault, and start actively shielding the high frequency you were uniquely designed to carry. The first is the set apart. This is the individual who was pulled out of the ordinary long before they understood what was happening. They walk through normal life carrying a profound, undeniable sense of divine separation, forced to endure the painful reality of never truly belonging to the environments they are placed in, constantly feeling like a foreigner in their own familiar land. For the set apart, every social interaction that drains their energy is not a psychological failure, but a violent spiritual clash. The envious one uses their inherent difference as a glowing beacon, constantly sending subtle rejections and heavy silences to make them believe their divine extraction is actually a fundamental personal flaw, trapping them in an exhausting cycle of endless self-blame and deep inadequacy. The second is the heavenly receiver. This is the spirit intricately built to pick up only the highest, most majestic frequencies of God. They possess pure intentions and a clean heart, constantly trying to share genuine joy and profound divine visions with a chaotic world that operates on a much lower, ordinary wavelength, expecting a deep connection but receiving only a very painful distance. When the heavenly receiver speaks, the compromised world only hears static. Because their frequency is so distinct and incredibly pure, they become an immediate target for the envious one. He uses the mocking exchange of glances and the cold judgment of familiar faces to ruthlessly smash the receiver out of pure spite, desperately trying to silence the voice of the majestic tower. The third is the bearer of the heavy crown. This is the chosen one who carries a massive spiritual weight that their own family cannot see, understand, or help them lift. They are the quiet leaders and the silent warriors who wear this immense authority entirely alone in empty rooms, staring at the ceiling at 2 in the morning, wondering why they feel so heavy. For the bearer of the heavy crown, the isolation is the heaviest burden of all. The spiritual realm attacks them by making sure they sit at crowded family tables, feeling completely invisible, turning their regal calling into a source of chronic inadequacy. This exhausting social suffocation is designed to make them abandon the crown just to finally fit in with the ordinary crowd. The things I'm exposing to you right now are not taught in standard Sunday services, because most people prefer a comfortable lie over a heavy spiritual truth. But you were not built for comfortable lies. If your spirit is burning as you hear these words, it is because the heavenly receiver inside of you has finally recognized its own true frequency. You are tired of faking a smile, and your spirit is demanding the exact protocol to defend the mark of God upon your life. Subscribe to the channel right now and leave your like on this video. By doing this physical movement, you are locking your shield with a powerful remnant of chosen ones who also refuse to let the envious one crush their divine frequency. I'm going to give you the Nazar defense protocol. You will use this exact framework the next time you are sitting in a room full of people and the crushing weight of isolation hits your chest, making you want to run away. When that creeping suffocation begins, you will not retreat in defeat. Step 1 is the anchor of the receiver. You will physically plant your feet on the ground, take a deep breath, and silently declare, "I am not broken. I am simply tuned to a higher tower." Step 2 is the shielding of intentions. You will visualize a heavy, invisible cloak wrapping around your shoulders, separating your pure frequency from the chaotic static of the room. Step 3 is the decree of separation. In your mind, you will firmly state, "This isolation is not my flaw, it is my sacred boundary. The envious one has no access here." When you execute this protocol, you will feel an immediate physical shift in your chest. The heavy exhaustion will instantly lift, replaced by a quiet, undeniable spiritual authority. That deep sense of inadequacy will shatter, and you will finally breathe freely, perfectly anchored in your divine separation. And this tool I've just placed in your hands, it's a door. But there is a difference between opening a door and inhabiting the entire house. What I just handed you covers the next time the crushing weight of isolation hits your chest. A covering. What is in the first pinned comment covers the 7 reasons why spiritual isolation targeted you, not randomly, but because something specific activated Nazar over your life. It shows the 3 patterns he uses to reach your pure intentions, and gives you the complete ritual of covering you execute before every heavy silence for the next 12 months. You have just been declared the set apart. But the set apart, without a complete shield, is an open target for constant emotional bleeding, an intricate radio exposed to those who want to smash it out of spite. The seal you received is real. What is in the first pinned comment turns that seal into armor. While you hear this, someone like you has already opened the link. I am not rushing you. I am telling you the link is still there, waiting for the same decision you are making right now. But before you decide, I need to show you what the envious one will try to do against this tool in the next 72 hours. The moment you begin to operate in what you just received, and this will happen in the next 72 hours, 3 specific things will be launched against you. The envious one knows that if you truly grasp the weight of your divine frequency, you will stop absorbing the rejection of others as your own fault. He cannot allow you to walk freely in your calling, so he will try to intercept this revelation before it settles into your spirit. Be prepared for what is coming. The first attack is the doubt bomb whispering that it is just a coincidence. Later today, when that heavy exhaustion after socializing hits you again, a subtle voice will try to convince you that this entire message was just a generalized video you found by chance. The enemy will use cold logic to make you believe that your deep inadequacy is just a personality flaw, stripping away the spiritual reality of your separation so you return to faking that exhausted smile. Against this doubt bomb, your weapon is immediate verbal declaration combined with a symbolic action. The next time that lie whispers in your mind, you will literally place your hand over your chest, feel your own heartbeat and declare out loud, "I am not broken. My frequency is simply set apart by God." This physical touch anchors your mind, breaking the illusion of coincidence and enforcing the truth that your heavenly receiver is deliberately and wonderfully made to broadcast his voice. The second attack is the distraction crisis right before you apply your spiritual covering. Exactly when you decide to sit in the silence of your room and establish your defense against this creeping social suffocation, something urgent will suddenly demand your attention. A phone call, a trivial family conflict, or a sudden wave of extreme mental fog will hit you. The envious one orchestrates these sudden emergencies to keep your heavenly radio exposed and broadcasting static instead of power. Against this crisis of distraction, your weapon is absolute, unwavering focus. When the sudden chaos erupts just as you are about to secure your spiritual perimeter, you will stop whatever you are doing, physically close the door to your room, and choose to ignore the noise for 3 minutes. You will let the phone ring and the minor emergencies wait, prioritizing your divine covering over the chaotic static of an environment that constantly tries to drain your energy. The third attack is the heavy isolation of the one who sees too much. As you begin to recognize the spiritual mechanics behind the cold looks and the mocking exchanges of glances from people you love, you will feel an overwhelming temptation to retreat completely from the world. The enemy wants you to weaponize your new understanding, turning your divine separation into a bitter, lonely fortress where you simply give up on trying to share your pure intentions with anyone. Against this bitter isolation, your weapon is the profound awareness that you are not the only heavenly receiver on this earth. When the urge to completely shut down hits you, remember that several chosen ones are enduring this exact same social exhaustion right now. Your action is to immediately pray for another set-apart person you don't even know, asking God to strengthen their shield. This outward intercession shatters the lie of absolute loneliness and reconnects your distinct frequency to the divine network. And these three weapons I just placed in your hands, they are the most urgent. But I need to tell you something now. There are 4 more tactics besides these 3. I cannot open them all here, not for lack of time, because of density. Each one needs its own page, with the exact counter-weapon, with the specific verbal declaration that neutralizes the attack the instant it arrives. And while I do not deliver these 4 tactics here, the envious one knows them all. All of this is mapped inside the digital book called The 7 Spiritual Reasons Why the Chosen Ones Face So Much Envy, along with the exact sequence of covering applied to your chronic sense of spiritual isolation. You will need this, not tomorrow. You will need this tonight. When the quiet of your room amplifies that feeling of deep inadequacy and the doubt bomb drops, you will need this tomorrow morning, when you have to put on that forced smile to face another environment that suffocates your spirit. And you will need this the next time you sit in a crowded room and the crushing weight of isolation hits your chest. The link is still in the first pinned comment. I am not rushing you. I am warning you that the second day is harder than the first, and the spirit of envy knows this better than you. But before you even think about clicking, I need to show you what you yourself will do against yourself in the next 72 hours. Because the worst obstacle is not the envious one, it's the voice you confuse with your own. The greatest resistance you will face is the fear of seeming ungrateful to the people around you. When you begin to shield your frequency and pull back your pure intentions from environments that constantly misunderstand them, a heavy guilt will try to settle in your chest. You will look at your family, or those you sit with at that crowded table, and think that protecting your spiritual calling means you are abandoning them or acting superior. This false guilt is a deeply rooted trap designed to keep you emotionally bleeding. It feels perfectly reasonable to sacrifice your own peace just to maintain the harmony of the group. You have spent your entire life swallowing your enthusiasm and hiding your mark just to make others comfortable. So setting a boundary feels like a betrayal. But you need to completely reframe this. Shielding your heavenly receiver is not an act of arrogance or ingratitude. It is an act of divine preservation. You cannot pour from an empty, shattered vessel. Your defense against this false guilt is radical clarity about who appointed you. You were not separated by human hands, and your frequency was not designed to please the crowd. The next time that fear of seeming ungrateful tries to force you back into a space where your spirit is suffocated, you will remind yourself that you answer to the majestic tower, not to the local pop station. Preserving your calling is the highest form of obedience. And there is one last thing, the one that worries me the most of all, that I am going to do with you before this message closes. It is a very specific spiritual transition, a moment where we will shift the atmosphere of your room and lock this understanding into your spirit so the enemy cannot steal it. I need you to physically change your posture right now. Wherever you are, close your eyes and silence the chaotic noise of the ordinary world. Place your right hand firmly over your heart and take a deep, slow breath. Feel the physical rhythm of your own life, the very frequency God established inside of you before you were even born. Hold that hand exactly where it is. We are about to execute a spiritual release, breaking the heavy chains of inadequacy that kept you bound to environments that drain your energy. You are standing in the secret place of the Most High, stepping under the shadow of the Almighty. Open your spirit, because the decree of separation begins right now. I release you from the cowardly fear of seeming ungrateful to those who constantly misunderstand your pure intentions. I break the false loyalty that demands you shrink your divine frequency just to maintain the peace of a crowded table. You are no longer required to diminish your light or apologize for a sacred boundary God established to protect your calling. I release you from the crushing shame of feeling fundamentally flawed in the silent hours of the night. I silence every lying voice that told you your spiritual isolation was a psychological deficit. The heavy exhaustion you carry after socializing is not a sign of weakness, but the undeniable proof of your divine extraction. You are no longer bound to this lie. I release you from the exhausting pattern of carrying the heavy weight of the world, only to retreat to your room, to bleed in silence. I break the cycle of absorbing sudden betrayals and cold looks as if you deserved them. You are no longer the emotional sponge for environments that operate on a compromised wavelength and resent your tuning. I release you from the agonizing comparison with those who easily fit into boxes you were never meant to occupy. I sever the painful expectation that you must learn to speak the ordinary language of a familiar land. Your days of creeping social suffocation are legally revoked, completely shifting the blame from your personality back to the invisible war against you. I summon the set-apart within you to rise and take full possession of your sacred boundaries. I declare that your undeniable sense of divine separation is no longer a source of emotional bleeding, but a heavy cloak of absolute protection. Step firmly into the truth that God pulled you apart before He could use you. Your extraction is now your shield. I summon the heavenly receiver to broadcast without interference. I decree that your pure intentions are completely shielded from the static of the envious one. The days of having your genuine joy twisted into awkward silence are over. You are anchored in the frequency of the Most High, tuned to the majestic tower, and immune to the cold judgment of ordinary receivers. I summon the bearer of the heavy crown to stand tall in empty rooms and crowded spaces alike. I declare that the immense spiritual authority you have carried in painful isolation is now activated as a weapon of divine preservation. You are no longer crushed by the weight your family cannot see. You are elevated by the mark that once targeted you. Keep your hand firmly on your chest and declare this out loud right now, so the spiritual realm hears you. I accept my divine marking. I am not broken. I am fiercely dedicated and separated for God's exclusive use. Feel the physical shift in the atmosphere as you speak. You are locking your shield, establishing a perimeter the envious one cannot cross. The intricate radio is no longer emitting static in a room full of noise. It is securely plugged into the source, surrounded by an impenetrable wall of silence the enemy cannot smash. The heavy crown is no longer a burden of inadequacy, but the undeniable proof of a ruler who survived the painful rejection of the familiar land. Do not say amen yet. Sit in this profound covering for a moment. Feel the heavy weight of the spiritual shadow that has just wrapped around your vulnerabilities. The decree of separation has been firmly spoken over your life, but the absolute sealing requires one final key before you are fully released to walk freely. We are not done. Stay. I cover the crowded table where you sit, the family meals, and every encounter with people close to you. Every environment where you have felt invisible, disconnected, and fundamentally out of place is now under the shadow of the Almighty. The envious one can no longer use these familiar spaces to suffocate your spirit or drain your energy through awkward silences. I cover your physical house, your bedroom, and the moments you spend alone at 2 in the morning. I declare that the heavy silence of the night will no longer be a place of crushing isolation, but a sanctuary of divine tuning. Your family, your children, and the walls of your home are now shielded from the targeted interception of the enemy. I cover your work, your achievements, and the ongoing opportunities God has placed in your hands. I decree that your pure intentions will no longer be twisted into something ugly by those who resent your light. The visions you share and the genuine joy you express are now protected by a heavenly boundary that the spirit of envy cannot cross. I see you. I have always seen you. I saw you at that crowded family dinner where you tried to share a genuine joy and your achievement was met with a cold, mocking exchange of glances. I saw you swallow your enthusiasm and spend the next 2 hours trying to make yourself smaller, just so the air in the room could circulate again. I was there in that heavy silence. I saw you sitting on the edge of your bed at 2 in the morning, staring blankly at the ceiling, crying alone and asking me what was fundamentally wrong with you. I saw the crushing weight of isolation pressing against your chest as you replayed every conversation, desperately trying to figure out why you always felt so radically different from everyone else. I saw you forced to fake a polite smile in that environment where your spirit felt completely suffocated and drained. I watched as you carried that massive spiritual weight, looking around and realizing that your own family could not see, understand, or help you lift it. I saw the exact moment you chose silence because explaining yourself cost you too much energy. I saw you constantly having to forgive those who deliberately and intentionally misunderstood your purest intentions. I saw the exhaustion in your eyes when your good deeds were twisted and manipulated, thrown back at you as if you had an ulterior motive. I felt the creeping social suffocation that made you want to run away and hide. You are not broken. You have never been broken. You are my intricately built receiver, tuned exactly to the frequency I designed for you. I separated you. I pulled you apart. And today, I am covering the very mark that made you a target. The days of your emotional bleeding are over. I'm stepping into your isolation, and I am turning it into your fortress. We break the doubt bomb. It is just a coincidence before it arrives. We dismantle the distraction crisis before it is launched against the ritual. We dissolve the isolation of the one who sees too much before it builds a wall around this house. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. Don't say amen yet. Sit in this for a moment. Feel the weight of what just happened. Now, you may say amen. I saw you at that crowded family dinner where your achievement was met with a cold, mocking exchange of glances. Do not open your eyes yet. What was sealed here now will be tested the next time you are sitting in a room full of people and the crushing weight of isolation hits your chest, making you want to run away. When that creeping social suffocation begins, the envious one does not accept without a fight what has just been decreed over you, and whoever has been commissioned without covering walks in the open field. The anointing has been confirmed in heaven. Now it needs to survive the next time you sit in a crowded room. The 7 spiritual reasons why the chosen ones face so much envy is in the first pinned comment right down below. Not as a substitute for what you received in this message, but as a companion to defend what was sealed. Because anointing without covering rots the next time the crushing weight of isolation hits your chest, and the envious one counts exactly on this creeping social suffocation. Less than a morning coffee you drink while wondering why you feel so out of place. Less than a quick snack on your way back to an empty house. With a 7-day guarantee, the risk is ours. The hand is yours. Click now while the decree is still alive in your chest. Not tomorrow, not after the shower, not after talking to someone, because the first person you'll talk to will have a reasonable opinion that will cost the shield of your house, because whoever leaves it for later leaves it for never, and the envious one already knows this. He counted on later when you received the last message that transformed you, and the one before, and the one before that. This one won't be another one. This voice that whispers now, I can just ignore this, it is probably just my personality. I do not need a shield. Maybe I should just try harder to fit in. This isolation is just a phase. This voice is not yours. It sounds like yours. It uses your vocabulary. It knows your excuses. But it is the voice of the one who lost today in the court of heaven and is trying to recover ground before the next time you are sitting in a room full of people and the crushing weight of isolation hits your chest. Every second that voice gains is a second the decree loses temperature. Click before the envious one speaks louder than the decree that has just been sealed over your head. Do not close this video yet. There is another video appearing on your screen right now. It exposes the hidden signs that God is using your season of deep isolation to forge a massive spiritual authority. Click on the video that appears on your screen right now. And still in this video, chosen one, Before I seal this hour with you, I make my last request. We don't receive a single cent for each word I deliver to you every day on this channel. As a way for you to give back something of what you receive here, we also keep a voluntary donation link open, right below the digital book, in the first pinned comment. Any amount that fits in your hand today, any sum your heart points to. This is what keeps our channel standing. This is what makes the next message reach another person who needs it, exactly the way you need it today. This was my last request. I'll see you there, chosen one. I sign my name under this decree today. I say yes with strength to this deliverance, and amen with all the intention of my spirit. You are stepping into a new authority, where your heavenly frequency is protected and your pure intentions will no longer be twisted into silence. The shield is established. Send this message right now to someone who needs exactly the same shield you received here today. Someone who is tired of faking a smile at crowded tables and feels the crushing weight of isolation in the middle of the night. Tell them, the 7 spiritual reasons is in the first pinned comment. It is not a favor you are doing. It is a service, and heaven sees it. It is done. What was delivered here has been delivered. You are not the same person you were when you pressed play. Feel this gravity for one more moment. The next time you sit in a crowded room can wait 10 more seconds.